That isn't just the sound of the 2016 Mercedes-Benz C-Class high-strength steel and aluminum frame being formed. It's the sound of conviction. Conviction that created a lighter, quicker, and more efficient C-Class, whose beautiful form commands attention, while its more powerful, fuel-efficient engine demands to be driven. This is what conviction sounds like. Now, discover what it feels like in a 2016 Mercedes-Benz C-Class.
Blog Talk Radio.
Everybody, how's everybody doing today? I got a jam-packed show for you. It's been a while since we had a traditional show like this. We have some news here from Politico on Hillary Clinton's VP. Oh, is this one telling? This story actually broke not long ago, this morning actually. So this is hot off the presses here, but it sure does tell you something about Elizabeth Warren. So we're going to talk about that. We also have the Guccifer 2.0 emails. I always feel ridiculous saying the word Guccifer. Everybody should. There should be some sort of rule written as in nature that if you say Guccifer, it sounds silly. But shocker, there was without a doubt collusion between Hillary Clinton and the DNC, and the DNC was solidly on her team all along. So we'll talk about that. We also have some great news about the future of the progressive movement. Bernie Sanders took some steps here to solidify that his legacy and the progressive legacy continues. And I don't want to ruin the story now for you, but just know that this means a lot. And this is a positive step. And naturally, Hillary's camp is bashing him for it. And then, obviously, we got a whole bunch of stuff on Donald Trump. He's not so sure profiling is a bad thing. We have Alabama Republicans who are going to tell us about how Muslims feel about gays. That should be fun. And later on, we got some, actually a really devastating story coming out of Okinawa. The U.S. troops are apparently fucking going crazy over there. And Okinawans have said enough. Get the fuck out. So there's a lot to discuss within that story. So let's go ahead and get started here, and we'll kick it off with this story that's hot off the presses, and it's about Hillary Clinton and her potential VP pick. So let me set this up for you real proper. So we have some news here from Politico on Hillary Clinton's potential VP pick. They say, big Wall Street donors have a message for Hillary Clinton. Keep Elizabeth Warren off the ticket or risk losing millions of dollars in contributions. In a dozen interviews, major Democratic donors in the financial services industry said they saw little chance that Clinton would pick the liberal firebrand as her vice presidential nominee. These donors despise Warren's attacks on the financial industry, but they also think her selection would be damaging to the economy. And they warned that if Clinton surprises them and taps Warren, big donations from the industry could vanish. We have some quotes here. Quote, if Clinton picked Warren, her whole base on Wall Street would leave her, said one top Democratic donor who has helped raise millions for Clinton. They would literally just say, we have no qualms with you moving left. We understand all these things you've had to do because of Bernie Sanders. But if you're going there with Warren, oh, is that so telling? So I had forgotten about a similar story to this, but about maybe a year and a half ago or so, you had some top Wall Street executives tell Hillary Clinton, Hillary, we're giving you free rein to say whatever you want to say. We know that you're on our team. We know that when push comes to shove, you're going to do the legislation that we like. So you can be as progressive as you want to be in your rhetoric, and we know that deep down it's a wink and a nod, and you're still totally with us. So she was able to just go out there and pretend to be progressive. Now, to put that in perspective for you, even with Obama, who largely has been a sellout to Wall Street, even with him, when he used super progressive rhetoric, people on Wall Street were like, whoa, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? We don't like that. We don't like that. So he wasn't even given a free pass. Hey, you can say whatever the fuck you want to say. But she was given a pass, and they know no matter what you say, we know you're pretending. So they've decided now, well, there's one thing you could do that would make us not trust you anymore. And that thing would be if you pick Elizabeth Warren as vice president. Now, that is overwhelmingly not going to happen. It's overwhelmingly likely that it won't happen, and that's one thing where me and the Wall Street douchebags here agree, that she's definitely not likely to pick her. But if we want to frame this in a way that the Hillary campaign will understand, and the hashtag I'm with her people will understand, are you going to let the boys club, the patriarchy of Wall Street, all those males tell the first female nominee who she can and can't pick for vice president, women have come this far and now you're going to let it all go to shit because you want to take advice from the Wall Street boys club? Man, is that sad and is that depressing. Don't you want to just shove your middle finger in their face and tell them, no, we're picking her and you can fuck off? Why don't you do it? Why don't you do it? So this is the real test for Hillary Clinton. Now, I think, again, my audience, myself, we all know largely what's going to happen here, and we all know what direction she's probably going to go in. But, man, it would be a bold move, and obviously would be unprecedented if we had not an all-female ticket, but you pick somebody, although that is obviously big too, but you pick somebody who is super-duper progressive as VP, like Elizabeth Warren, and then in all seriousness, is that one of very few things that Hillary Clinton can do to bring more Bernie supporters over to her in the general election? The answer to that is yes. I know there are a lot of Bernie supporters listening right now who say, no, I'm not going to vote for her under any circumstances, and no, some of you even prefer Donald Trump over her. I'm talking statistics here. I'm talking overall, will there be more Bernie supporters who go to her if she picks somebody like Elizabeth Warren? The answer is yes. And that would apparently even make it so that people in Wall Street go, we don't really trust you anymore because she's against us. And guys, remember, I know a lot of people are mad, and partially rightly so, at Elizabeth Warren for endorsing Hillary Clinton, but understand that that doesn't make her record go away. Like when people say, oh, she's just a sellout, that's not true. I mean, again, I didn't like the fact that she endorsed her either. I thought she should have endorsed Bernie earlier on, and then if you're going to not and stay neutral, but later on endorse Hillary, at least wait until the convention when there's no indictment possibility, yada, yada. But know that her record still exists. So, for example, she created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, something that's overwhelmingly progressive and helps the American people. You can't just dismiss that because we don't like who she endorsed for president. Does it say something about her? Yes, it says something about her, that she's a watered-down Bernie Sanders. She's not Bernie Sanders. But a watered-down Bernie Sanders is better than no Bernie Sanders at all. So that she's progressive, but a little less progressive than Bernie, and perhaps playing more pragmatic politics, that should make us like her less, but it shouldn't make us lump her in league with the total corporatist sellout Democrats. So let's keep that in mind. And even Wall Street's like, if we don't go for her, no. Because remember, Elizabeth Warren wants to reinstate Glass-Steagall. Elizabeth Warren wants to re-regulate Wall Street more efficiently. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau proves that she wants to crack down on them. So they're like, Hillary, we love you, but if you go with her, that money's going to dry up, which should make us really, really, really want Hillary to pick her. And remember, my argument from the beginning has been, dude, don't you want a more progressive voice in the room? Like, there are some people who make this counterintuitive argument like, no, if it's Hillary, it should be as shitty a ticket as possible. Why? That makes no sense. Why not make whatever administration as progressive as humanly possible to try to push it in that direction? And even if you think, oh, she's just a prop to try to get the progressives on her side, but you still want that voice in the room when it comes time to discuss policy issues, don't you? I mean, again, I don't see any logical counter-argument to that. You would always want to make an administration as progressive as possible. That's what progressives should want, not to play this weird counterintuitive jujitsu of, but if we get a worse president, then maybe later we'll get a better one. Well, you know, you could have used that reasoning for George W. Bush. Hey, I don't want Al Gore. Maybe we'll get something better than Al Gore. Let's just have George Bush get elected now, and then maybe later on we'll get something even better than Al Gore. Or when you pick a conservative, the spectrum shifts to the right for establishment politics and fucking stays far right, and you've permanently done damage in the process. So I don't buy the counterintuitive arguments. I would prefer somebody like Elizabeth Warren as a VP pick, or just somebody who's massively progressive and way more progressive than Hillary. And I would like it if Wall Street gets scared and they're like, I don't know, this is getting weird now. That would be good. I'd rather that than have Wall Street go, yeah, in every way, fucking Hillary Clinton for the win. No, if Wall Street's saying it's for the win, it is definitely for the loss. Because we all know that their ideas and their philosophy and their interests don't align with the American people. So there you have it. They do not want Elizabeth Warren. Let's go to the Guccifer leaks now. Let's break this bad boy out. So we've had some new leaks of DNC emails here, and it appears to show that the DNC was clearly in the tank for Hillary Clinton from before day one of this election. So one of the emails is dated May 26th, 2015. It's to the Democratic National Committee. It's from some kind of consultant here that they were seeking advice from on how to run their campaign and how to move forward. And it says, below, please find a suggested strategy for positioning and public messaging around the 2016 Republican presidential field. And then it lays out some goals. And it goes on to say that our goals in the coming months will be to frame the Republican field and the eventual nominee early and to provide a contrast between the GOP field and HRC. That stands for Hillary Rodham Clinton. So here you are, May 26, 2015, apparently in emails to the DNC. They're having conversations about when Hillary is elected, not if. When Hillary is elected. And remember, later on, they went on to pretend like they were neutral. Like, oh, Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton? Well, gosh, we're fine with either one. I don't know what you guys mean when you say we're biased in favor of Hillary Clinton. No, we know that you're biased in favor of Hillary Clinton. The evidence shows it. It's right in front of us. So they even go on to say the following. Use specific hits to muddy the waters around ethics, transparency, and campaign finance attacks on HRC. Again, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Damn. So as one of the specific pieces of advice given by these consultants with the DNC, they're saying, oh, when the Republicans bring up the amount of money that she takes from Wall Street and how bought she is, you need to muddy the waters around ethics, transparency, and campaign finance. Oh, that's so sad that they're laying this out. Remember, guys, what first came to mind was what happened with Bernie Sanders in the primary when I read this. How Bernie Sanders would always talk about, we need to get money out of politics, and just be very forthright about the corruption and the legalized bribery. And then Hillary would jump in and basically say something along the lines of, I agree, we need to get rid of the dark money in the political system. And if you notice something, she slipped in the word dark. Why would you slip in the word dark? Well, that's almost textbook muddying the waters on the issue. Oh, I'm making it seem like I agree with you, but I'm actually being honest about what I believe, and I want to get rid of dark money, which means simply more transparency laws. So let's know who's buying our politicians, but let's not go crazy here and stop people from buying our politicians by getting money out of the political system. No, wouldn't want to do that. So she goes on to use these tactics not only just against the Republicans, but also against Bernie Sanders, which, again, it's amazing that the DNC pretended for all this time, oh, we're so neutral, even though we really, really want Hillary Rodham Clinton to win. Remember, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, head of the DNC, she tried to bury debates. First of all, they tried to limit debates as much as possible. Then they tried to bury debates where people wouldn't fucking watch them. They put them, alongside giant sports events, or they would tuck them on a Sunday when nobody was fucking paying attention. And Everybody's like, what the fuck are you doing? Well, it's obvious. Hillary Clinton had a gigantic lead in name recognition and celebrity status. Nobody really knew who the fuck Bernie Sanders was. And if you hide the debates, you make it overwhelmingly likely that she can coast off that name recognition to the nomination. So that's it. That's what ended up happening. And, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again, if Bernie Sanders was given a little more time, I have no doubt that not only would he have won, he would have won by a substantial margin, without a doubt in my mind. And then now you know the entire process was tipped in her favor. And we know this for other reasons too. For example, all the closed primaries that happened. Closed primaries massively favor Hillary Clinton because among people who are registered as Democrats, they lean in favor of her. Remember, again, largely because of name recognition, but once you open up the process and you allow in independents and you stay much closer to one person, one vote, Bernie Sanders does a lot better. So we had a lot of closed primaries. There was a lot of fuckery that went on behind the scenes. Remember in the Iowa caucus how it came down to fucking coin flips? And look at that, Hillary won every coin flip. Just creepy shit like that was going on. And it's all of your suspicions have been proven true. They've been colluding from the beginning. Now also, this does violate ethics rules. Let's not forget that either. That if indeed this was a direct relationship between the DNC and her campaign, and also you can add in her super PAC, her campaign, as we also kind of knew they were doing from the Correct the Record trolls who were paid to spread disinformation about Hillary to try to make her look better. That also violates campaign ethics rules. But the campaign ethics system is set up so that it's almost like you have permanent gridlocks. You can never get anything done, even when the rules violations are totally clear. Jeb Bush, for example, did the same thing in that he pretended like he wasn't running for president. He never officially announced, so he was running around raising money for his super PAC. Well, you're not allowed to raise money for your super PAC. But the loophole is, well, if you say you haven't officially ran yet, you can go around the country and hint that you're going to run. Everybody knows you're going to run and raise money for them. But since you didn't officially announce, well, then you get to raise the money for them. But once you announce, you can't raise the money for them. I mean, it's just so obvious, and it's so brazen, and it's preposterous in how they skirt the few remaining election laws that we have left. And then finally, I'll leave you guys with this. The strategy email also cautioned the DNC operatives to leave, quote, no fingerprints as they utilize reporters to drive a message. Damn. So they laid out in the emails, oh, you're going to control these bitch-ass reporters that are going to do your bidding and leave no fingerprints in the process. Oh, my goodness. They're admitting we controlled the media. So whenever they want to do some sort of an attack against Bernie Sanders, they pull the old Fox News trick. They call up the reporters that they know, and they say, for example, oh, there are a lot of these Bernie bros. Have you guys heard about this? Some people are saying, that's the old Fox trick. Say some people are saying even though you're saying it. Nobody else is saying it, you're saying it. A lot of people are saying that Bernie supporters are all white male, rabid sexists, and maybe you should write about that and how she's gotten so much hatred from these people that it's obviously based in sexism and not policy disagreements. Boom. 7,000 articles written from every establishment media outlet. Oh, Bernie bro, Bernie bro, Bernie bro, Bernie bro, Bernie bro. No evidence, no investigation, no actual journalism, no real reporting. They're acting as stenographers to the Clinton campaign. And this was part of the fucking strategy from the beginning. Now, you think Bernie Sanders had a counter strategy? You think he had his people calling the media, whispering things about, you know, I heard Hillary Clinton took X amount of money from this corporation, which, by the way, would actually be true if they did that. But no, they didn't have a counter operation set up where they can, you know, beat back the propaganda and do their own accurate propaganda against Hillary Clinton. No, he's just running around like a normal person, thinking that all this stuff is legit and straight up and campaigning like a normal human being. And they're, you know, working the rest behind the scenes. That's exactly what's happening. And by the way, how many outlets have reported on this since we learned that, oh, they were controlling the media? Zero mainstream outlets. You didn't find anything about this on CNN, nothing about this on MSNBC. Guys, these are huge leaks. These are huge leaks, and they prove collusion. But nothing. Now, why are they doing it? Well, either they're just flat out in the tank for Hillary Rodham Clinton, or they're fucking embarrassed that they were worked like that. But either way, it ain't fucking good, and either way, the media is not doing its job. So are there going to be repercussions for this? Honestly, I doubt it. I doubt it. Why? Because it's Hillary Rodham Clinton, and this is what she does. Hillary Clinton, they know how to play politics. They know how to work the system. They know how to coast their way to power in a Machiavellian way. Well, Bernie Sanders had an actual message, has actual policy goals, has ideals, has a philosophy. He represented it. but he's up against this behemoth in Democratic politics with a tremendous amount of money and the entire establishment with her. And this is how they ended up winning. And as Jordan Sheridan said, we've been conned into Hillary Clinton. And the more evidence comes out, the more that becomes inarguable. Okay. All right, let me give you one more here before we take our first break. And this is about the future of the progressive movement. We have some great news here about the future of the progressive movement. Apparently, Bernie Sanders supporters are planning on protesting the Democratic Convention. I think that is a great idea. Now, obviously, people in the media largely disagree. Hillary's campaign is apoplectic over this, but they don't get it. They don't fucking get it, and at this point, I think they're being purposefully obtuse. They're trying not to get it. But the whole idea behind this is, hey, we have to fundamentally change the system. Can't have Democrats and progressives and liberals get out there and fall in line behind a candidate who admittedly has taken a tremendous amount of corporate money. I mean, she represents Wall Street. She represents the status quo. She represents the establishment. No, you shouldn't just lie down and take that. Obviously, you should fight against it. And remember, guys, the easiest thing in the world is to go to work on your political opponents. It's so easy to just rip Donald Trump. I mean, it's almost sad in how easy it is. And don't get me wrong, we're going to do it because it makes sense to do that, too, for accuracy's sake. But also, true courage is going after your own in your own camp when they've lost their way. And when they decided that, no, establishment politics works just fine. And that's exactly what Hillary Clinton is. That's exactly what the DNC is. And this idea, there's nothing more disgusting than looking at a Democratic convention and watch them all pat themselves on the back when they're corporatist, center-right establishment Democrats. Because, oh, we're the party that's in favor of progress, and we're the party that's more for minorities, and we care more about economic equality and stuff. Meanwhile, again, the devil's in the details. You go into the specifics, virtually all those fucking Democrats are sellouts. And, yeah, they may be better on social issues. Yeah, they may be a little bit better on economic issues. But, you know, don't fucking go nuts here. Don't go crazy giving yourself credit because you don't deserve that much of it. Okay, the people who really deserve credit are the ones who stand up and fight the system in every aspect and say, no, we need to get the money out of the system, we need to not be beholden to corporations, and we need to not be just a little bit better than the Republicans, because the Republicans are fucking crazy. So if they're crazy and you want to meet them halfway, then doesn't that mean that you're half crazy? And you want everybody to stand up and cheer for you? Yay, you're only half crazy, so let's vote for you. No, fuck that. Fuck that. No, you make them accountable. Yes, you should go there and protest them. And yes, you should be perfectly clear what it's about. It's about corruption. It's about money in politics. It's about all these Democrats selling out. And unfortunately now, I would argue the Democratic Party is the 80% sellout party, while the Republican Party is the 100% sellout party. No, we're not going to fucking shed tears of joy and pat you on the back as, you know, your 80% corrupt self is giving a speech and acting like it's all hunky-dory and acting like you're moving the country into the future in the most bold ways imaginable. No, the people who are really doing that are the people who are protesting. The ones who are out there saying this corruption has to stop. This hawkishness has to stop. The Democratic Party is now the party of soft imperialism. The Republicans are hard imperialism. So they're the neocons. We get that, man, invading Iraq. They want to ground invade everybody. Well, the Democrats, look at President Obama, casually brags about doing 7 different interventions. Now, granted, those interventions are different in their nature. So some of them it's airstrikes, some of them it's drone strikes, some of them it's special ops troops on the ground. But, yeah, you're still doing interventions. And this still, I would argue, is not helping us when, for example, we have a 90% death rate for hitting the wrong targets with our drone program. That's insane. I mean, the idea that we could have that and then still have this Democratic president pretend he's liberal, like, yeah, no, this is good. I don't see what the problem is. The problem is the fucking system you set up. Dismantle it. What's wrong with you? So, yes, protest. Yes, go nuts. They're practicing, by the way, how to do nonviolent protest. That's exactly right. The second you get violent, you lose the moral high ground. You need to be nonviolent, and that's exactly what they plan on doing, unsurprisingly, because these are devotees of Bernie Sanders, rightly so. So they're going to protest. They should protest, and they should let people know this is about a philosophy. This is about ideas and ideology. This isn't about, going crazy and just making noise because we don't like the outcome. But I guarantee you that's how it's going to be spun. It will be spun by the media as, these rabble-rousers don't care about democracy. When in reality, they care more about democracy. Because a true democracy wouldn't have this corrupting influence of big money, because when you have that, it biases the system in favor of the people who can raise the most money, who are the biggest sellouts. So they care more about democracy. They care more about principles. They care more about ideology. They care more about policies, but it will be spun like they don't. And it will be spun like they're hooligans. But you know the truth and I know the truth, and we should continue fighting regardless of how they smear us in the press. Now, finally, let me say this. Since Bernie Sanders' last address, he implored his supporters to get more involved and run for office. What happened? Over 7,000 people are planning to do that. Over 11,000 people expressed interest in doing that. We need this. We need 7,000 more, 11,000 more, 30,000 more Bernie Sanders to get involved in the political process, because that's the only way to fight back against this tide of big money, and that's the only way to fight back against the establishment that controls the political system and snubs the constituents and doesn't care about them. Now, obviously, the long-term goal is to get the money out of the system, but the short-term goal is get as many progressives in there as humanly possible and have them try to fight for the people within the system, too. And Bernie Sanders should, at some point, come out and endorse Wolfpack so that we can fight to get this amendment to get money out of the system. Because, he's got this massive movement now, and people are listening, and they might not know all the finer details of how the corruption happens. But if he comes out and he explains it and he says the solution is to get an amendment to the Constitution to mandate clean elections by law, well, then I think we're going to get a lot closer to achieving that and succeeding. So he should do that, and we should keep fighting for the progressive movement, because we know that in the long run we have to win. We have to win for the survival of the country. It's an absolute disgrace that other modern nations are so far ahead of us in so many areas, whether it's standard of living, whether it's healthcare systems and how efficient they are and how many people it helps, whether it's middle-class income, whether it's vacation time, minimum wage. You go down the list, and we're lagging behind them. So, no, we need to catch up, and the only way to do that is to make the system listen to us by doing stuff like this. Okay. I got to take a break. When we come back, Donald Trump had a brilliant solution in the wake of the mass shooting and terror attack in Orlando. And then I got more Trump on profiling. Oh, boy. I guess we all kind of knew this day was coming, but it's here. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Son of a bitch. All right, we're back, guys. And we are not fucking around. We are not fucking around. Donald Trump. We got some stories on Trumpington. All right, let's do it here. First, we go to his thoughts on guns. Jesus, my fucking chair, man. I need a new chair. Well, I mean, actually, while I'm on the random topic of chairs and how much I hate the one I'm in, we have a new studio that we're moving to soon. What? Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I fucking said it. What are you going to do about it? So I won't need a new chair. I'll be getting a whole new studio, bitch. If I had to guess the time frame, probably talking about 2 to 3 months we'll be in the new studio. And remember, some of you who listen to the show every day know because I've mentioned this before, but so if I have to miss like a Friday show here and there, if I have to do an hour-long show instead of an hour and 30 minutes, it's because I'm fucking going nuts trying to get everything ready. By the way, who knew that there was so much involved in, like, purchasing a place? Like, there's just so much shit involved. Like, all right, you got to get a lawyer involved, and you got to get this person to fucking do the thing with the thing. It's, oh, God, what the fuck is going on here? And nobody ever tells you what to do. And whenever you talk to anybody, they just assume you know what to do. Like, they think that you know how to fucking navigate all this shit legally and who to talk to, what agent, like, and you don't have any fucking clue. And nobody's ever like, all right, here you go, let me guide you through it. So it's a fucking massive headache. But anyway, that was a long side rant that all branched off of me sliding away as I'm trying to start a segment talking to you, which it will undoubtedly continue to happen. But there's nothing I can do about it. All right, here we go. So Donald Trump had a brilliant solution in the wake of the mass shooting and terror attack in Orlando. More guns! Shocker. I mean, these people on the far right concluding in every single scenario that more guns is the answer. Has there ever been a situation where more guns wasn't the proposed solution from some people? I don't think so. So we said the following. If you had guns in that room, even if you had a number of people having them strapped to their ankle or strapped to their waist where bullets could have flown in the other direction right at him, you wouldn't have had that tragedy. Discuss the multiple things wrong with this way of thinking. This is a classic case of micro picture versus macro picture. So yes, in that instance, when you're in the club and somebody comes in and they're gunning people down, at that instance, everybody in the world wishes, if they were in the club, I wish I had a gun so I can respond and I can gun this guy down. Nobody denies that, and if they deny that, they're crazy and they're not thinking right. But the broader issue is, you just set the precedent of allowing guns in nightclubs, and you came out in favor of that. Well, if we had guns in nightclubs all across the country every day as a general rule and as policy, the net number of deaths from those guns being in the club would be amazingly high, stunningly high, immensely high. Why? I don't know. Maybe because a nightclub is the exact wrong place where you'd want weapons, because you're typically dealing with a bunch of people who are really fucking drunk, many of them very jealous, getting into fights over significant others and people you're hooking up with, and, you know, somebody bumps into you in the club in the wrong way and they're in a bad mood and one thing leads to another and you're shoving each other and you get into a fist fight. I would love to see stats, although I'm sure they don't exist because this is so broad, on the number of fistfights that happen daily in clubs in America. I mean, that number's got to be absurdly high. At least 300, right? Maybe 400 on a weekend, over 1,000 fights that happen in a club. Now, just imagine in every single one of those fights, somebody had a gun. Everybody has guns. Quickly would people get to shooting? Now, some people listening right now will go, hey, if I had a gun, I wouldn't shoot in that scenario. That's nice. Congratulations. You're more rational than many people across the country. Because we know, based on the gun death statistics we have right now, not everybody's fucking rational. And there's heat of the moment stuff, and there's passionate stuff, and, You know, if people can get overcome by anger, jealousy, whatever, and then they start shooting. So, I mean, a surefire way to see the overall macro picture, gun deaths shoot up in America, is if you said everybody carry guns in clubs. I mean, that is such a bad idea. So, that's such a bad idea that even the NRA came out and said, Trump, that's stupid. When you go to the right of the NRA, and not just the people in the NRA, who are actually pretty reasonable when you look at the polls, but the leadership of the NRA, when you go to the right of the leadership of the NRA on gun policy, oh my goodness, you've hit some sort of record for being the most far-right person ever. So Wayne LaPierre, the guy who's viewed as the head of the NRA, he came out and said, quote, I don't think you should have firearms where people are drinking. Oh, that's amazing. We finally found somebody who Wayne LaPierre is to the left of on gun rights. Another NRA leader said, no one thinks that people should go into a nightclub drinking and carrying firearms, except Donald Trump. That defies common sense. It also defies the law. So it's unanimous among the leadership of the NRA. This guy went too far right on guns. Dude, you have to think. But see, that's the thing that's so scary. Well, one of many things that's scary about Donald Trump is that he has no filter, and he's not a thinker. Like, he's not intellectual. So you tell him about that scenario. Hey, man, a horrible terrorist attack and mass shooting. A guy went into a club and gunned down 50 people. Whatever the first thing that comes to his mind is, he just blurts it out. Oh, I wish everybody who was in the club was armed, and then it'd be okay. And by the way, also, side note, you're not fucking Steven Seagal. You're not Chuck Norris. This isn't a fucking movie. There's so many instances where people are armed, and then somebody comes in shooting, and they just get killed anyway. Why? Because you don't have but 0.01 seconds to respond and pull it out, and you're not an old Western. So even if you had guns, it wouldn't be necessarily save the day. But think about that. His first reaction is, oh, I wish everybody was armed in the club. There. Problem solved. Problem solved. Oh, you jackass. You didn't stop and think for a second. Okay, what if everybody in all the different clubs throughout America every night had guns? Oh, that would make the gun deaths tick up, wouldn't it? There'd be so many instances of individual shootings any given night that would make the statistics go up overall and more people would die. He couldn't stop and piece that together. He couldn't piece it together. And also, the final point, there's also the issue of crossfire and stuff like that. It's a dark club. People are drunk. You take out a gun. You fire back. You don't know who the fuck you're firing at. There could have been more casualties if you did that. You miss the guy. You shoot somebody else. The bouncer gets in the way. What, a million things could happen. He's like, no. The first thing that comes to his mind, yeah, arm everybody in the club and everything will be better. Oops, I just made it so thousands more people die every year because of my idiotic gun policy. And even the NRA disagrees with me. Well done, Donald. Oh, and by the way, I keep saying final thing, but this really is the final thing. The NRA are also hypocrites on this because they're saying now, yeah, come on, guns in nightclubs not a good idea. In some states, there are some Republican legislators who've taken money from the NRA who've pushed for guns in bars. So maybe not specifically, hey, nightclubs, and maybe in their mind there's some sort of distinction where it makes one okay and the other one not okay, but they have pushed for guns in bars before. So usually they are as stupid as Trump on this, but from one random instance they decided to make more sense. Okay. All right, now let's go to a conversation about profiling. Good googly moogly. Donald Trump was on Face the Nation over the weekend, and he has some thoughts for us on profiling after the Orlando mass shooting and terror attack.
Ask you just a bottom line question before we move on. You like to speak plainly. In December we talked and you said there possibly should be profiling. Just as a bottom line here, are you talking about increasing profiling of Muslims in America?
Well, I think profiling is something that we're going to have to start thinking about as a country, and other countries do it. And you look at Israel and you look at others, and they do it, and they do it successfully. And, I hate the concept of profiling, but we have to start using common sense, and we have to use our heads.
Okay. So I actually despise the way... Let me learn how to talk before I continue with this segment. I actually despise the way that he framed that, because it's hilarious that Trump gets this, he gets viewed as a straight shooter and somebody who keeps it real and he cuts to the bottom line every time, when that was anything but that. You heard him. He said, hey, should we profile? We're going to have to start thinking about it. Others do it. I hate the idea of profiling, but common sense. Common sense. So he's ambiguous and he's waffly, but he frames it in a way where everybody goes away from it getting that it's a wink and a nod, and it's a fuck yeah, we're going to start profiling. Again, he said, we're going to have to start thinking about it. Others do it. I hate profiling, but it's common sense. So if you're in favor of it, just say it. And this has actually become a new beef that I have with many Trump supporters. Just fucking say it, man. You want to be a straight shooter? Be a straight shooter. Go ahead. Tell me what you really think about dark-skinned immigrants. Trump says, hey, we've got to ban all Muslims from entering the country temporarily until we find out what's going on. He thinks that makes it more liberal when he has that part at the end. Ban all Muslims. Me, a bigot? I'm not a bigot. I don't know what you're talking about. I just want to ban all Muslims. That's not bigoted. That's almost the definition of bigotry. You're going to ban all of them because some of them do bad things. That's ridiculous, and that is bigoted. The Mexicans, they come into the country. They're criminals. They're rapists. I assume some are good people, implying the majority are bad people. Again, that's textbook definition of bigotry and xenophobia and racism. Just come out and say it. I don't know why they're fucking hiding it. Just say it. Do you really believe it? Just say it. If you believe it, yes, I'm a fucking bigot. And I'm proud of it, and I will defend it, and I will argue for it because I'm right and you're wrong. At least be honest about it, man. If you're honest about it, at least I can respect you from a human perspective. Oh, the person's telling me exactly what they think. When you do the tap dance and you go around it and you do what Trump did here, hey, should we profile? We're going to have to start thinking about it. Others do it. I don't like it, but common sense. We got to use our brains. I have a great brain. Just fucking say it. Just say what your position is. Now, let's get to the heart of it. Is that something that makes sense? Well, let's think about it. Flip the script and think about it this way for a second. 63% of mass shootings are done by white males. The question is, should we profile them when it comes to mass shootings? Should there be extra scrutiny when a white boy buys a gun? Because stats are stats, facts are facts. 63% of mass shootings are done by white males. Should we profile them? Now, if you're somebody who's in favor of profiling, well, okay, you're in favor of profiling. So, in this context, white boys, for example, in malls, is that somewhere? Hey, look, women go right ahead, black males go right ahead. If you're a white male, we're going to give you extra scrutiny because the stats are the stats, the facts are the facts. 63% of mass shooters are white males, so we're just going to have to do the extra scrutiny. Now, what's your reaction to that? Is your reaction, okay, that's a little ridiculous. If that's your reaction to that, then shouldn't it be the same in other contexts when it comes to profiling? Because here's the deal. Even though it is true that 63% of mass shootings are done by white males, it is also true that the overwhelming majority of white males are not mass shooters. So to do collective punishment and to say we will look at all of you as a problem when it's only a tiny percentage of you that are the problem, even though a majority of mass shootings are done by white males, you're being rigidly selective with your statistics. It is very selective to just say 63% of mass shooters are white males and end the conversation there. Because then you leave the implication, you leave the taste in people's mouths, well, that's such a problem and that's such a big issue that we need to look at them specifically as the problem. But no, the other statistics matter too. And when you add in that whatever it is, 99.8 or 9% of white males never do a mass shooting, 99.9999999%, then you go, oh, it would be preposterous to do this collective punishment and crack down when the overwhelming majority of them are not going to be mass shooters. Furthermore, let me give you some more facts here that will make you think about this profiling thing in a different way. According to a Gallup poll, 1,000 people across 65 countries were asked, hey, what nation is the number one threat to world peace? You know what the number one answer was? The United States of America. And we more than doubled the closest people to us, the closest nation to us. So overwhelmingly, around the world, people say, yeah, the U.S. is the biggest threat to world peace. Now let's take that to its logical conclusion. If you're somebody who's in favor of profiling, okay, then when Americans are traveling abroad, should you get extra scrutiny? Because people view your government as the biggest threat to world peace. Should, for example, let's say somebody was in the U.S. military and then they travel abroad at some point. Should they get extra scrutiny? Hey, look, man, it ain't us. It's the facts. We see that you're viewed as the #1 threat to world peace. There's a lot of fucked up shit you guys did. You invaded Iraq, killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. There's interventions going on right now in 7 different countries. I mean, hey, what are we going to do? We got to give you extra scrutiny. You're the ones who are the biggest threat. What are we going to do? We have to look at you extra. We have to give you specific scrutiny and single you out among everybody else. Does that make sense to you? No, because, again, your reaction would be, that's preposterous. The overwhelming majority of the American people are good people. So why would you single them out? Well, we got the statistics. Hey, man, you're the bigger threat. You're the bigger threat on this front. Your nation is the biggest threat to world peace according to 66,000 people in 65 nations. No, but see, in this case, people will rightly say that's a cherry-picked fact. That's misleading because, again, the overwhelming majority of Americans are good people, and the overwhelming majority of American soldiers are good people. So, now, finally, let's bring this full circle and apply it to Muslims. Hey, look, man, where is the jihadist threat coming from? It's coming from Muslims. Obviously, by definition, it's coming from Muslims. Jihad is an Islamic concept. It's obviously the problem. Why are you being politically correct by not acknowledging the problem? No, we all get that part. We all get that that there's a jihadist threat and there's fundamentalist Islam is a gigantic problem. Radical Islam, we can use that term. I'm not against using that term. I think it's politically correct not to use that term. That's a problem. Sure, totally. When it comes to religious acts of terrorism today, yeah, it comes overwhelmingly from Islam and from the Muslim community. Should we single them out specifically to give them extra scrutiny and take away their civil liberties? No. Why? Same reasoning I just used. Because the overwhelming majority of Muslims are not jihadists. They're not bad people. So since that's the case, that fact matters just as much as the fact that there is a jihadist threat from the community. In the same way that it matters that the overwhelming majority of white males are not mass shooters, even though most mass shooters are white males. So all the facts matter. All the statistics matter. Now, let's be clear. Does that mean that, for example, you should, if you see something suspicious coming from a Muslim or coming from a white male or coming from anybody, that, hey, I'm not going to discuss it because that would be wrong of me to stereotype? No. Muslims, white people, whoever, no group is good by definition. So it's not like people are exempt from getting called out on their criminal acts or their terrorist acts, or if something looks suspicious, you shouldn't say it. Of course you should say it. So all of these things matter, and furthermore, when you specifically single out one group and crack down only on them, let's be clear, it sets up an us versus them mentality, okay? And when it sets up an us versus them mentality, then you're much less likely to get help from that community because they feel like you're against them, so they're not going to come to you when previously perhaps they would have felt like they could come to you. So, for example, in New York City, the NYPD spied on mosques all over the place. You know how much intelligence they got from it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing helpful, no new information. So you set up an us versus them, then they didn't trust you, and then now if something happens, they're not going to call you because they feel like they're immediately suspicious just by virtue of the fact that they're calling you to help you. Now flip the script. Look at what happened in Canada. In Canada, there was an imam who came forward and he spoke to the authorities and said, look, we got this guy in our fucking mosque who's a little and he looks like he's going to do something violent. So I'm here to tell you, look into this guy because we don't want him doing any kind of attack or anything. What happened? They were able to foil a terrorist attack, a plot. The guy was trying to hit a train. They stopped him before he was able to do it, and they were able to stop him because they built a line of communication with the other peace-loving Muslims. If you stereotype, if you generalize, if you take away civil liberties, if you single them out for, special attention, well, then you're not going to get them on your side. They're not going to feel comfortable in calling you to let you know that somebody's doing something, and then we're not going to be able to prevent as many attacks. So the way to do this is to be smart about it. That's how you do it. You understand that most are not terrorists. You talk to them, and then, hey, if they see something weird, they're going to come to you. Hey, officer, this person's acting a little crazy. I know I could come to you because you're my friend and we've developed communication. So that's obviously the way to go about this. But no, simpletons like Donald Trump, he can't think it through. In his mind, he's just like, Muslims bad, therefore we're going to have to maybe start racial profiling. And by the way, be perfectly clear, obviously, yes, Islam is not a race. But in the mind of Donald Trump and in the mind of many people who would say, let's do racial profiling, what they mean is people who look Arab, people who look South Asian, people who look Middle Eastern, brown people. Those are the people who they want to look at because they think there's a good chance that they're Muslim, which means there's a good chance that they're a jihadist. So let's give them special attention, and that'll help. It won't help. It'll hurt. We have the evidence to show that when you treat the majority of them as good people, because they are, well, then you have good communication and you can prevent these attacks, and you build rapport and you build relationships, and that's what ends up helping with effective policing. Not this nonsense, this childish way of looking at the world that Donald Trump is doing. Okay. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Jesus, I only got one story in that, or two maybe? Whatever the fuck it was. When we come back, we got Howard Kurtz, is a guy who was fired from CNN because he sucked at his job. Now he's on Fox. Hilarious. And he's gonna go after Anderson Cooper because he's gay. Stay classy there, pal. And Congress decided to help their buddies in Saudi Arabia because, of course. I got a lot to say about that one, too. Don't go anywhere. We got that and much more, guys.
To make the bottom bubble to fall, and they all fall down. It goes. Out of the shallow barrage of which tongue cobras spit over apocalyptic cold. Killer cauldron smoke, some music seriously. It goes. Kept off the groove with stars, fluorescent locks, relentless raw movement for the knock meter that G-spot body rock connection. Everything you want, everything what we got it, why not come get us again in that hole and watch me drop this cold guillotine dissension. It goes. Between and beneath every fragmented figure of speech, tongue reversed whenever the beat causes my jaws to call. The screen flashes red, can't see shit ahead, spinning accidentally like planets, out of orbit off the edge of my natural ripping the doors to fumble and all that's ever been said. Drive the cord, kick the gym and you're dead. It goes. Head of a trick in a bucket, body of a trick in a bag, and throw in the fire like bucket. Gotta burn it before it goes bad. But too many times been disgusted by the stench of riding such a drag. Get broke by the street like bloodstained glass. Choke on these nuts to the very last. It goes. Serial number, killing machine. They listen to me. Do an answer on the filthy sound you're experiencing. It goes. Windows bulletproof, the slip not fixing rope to noose to the great so grinder of cold steel. The master of the blinds we saw feel, They go to a plus to our veins, plus to our tunnels and rattles our chains, and they all fall down.
All right, we're back, guys. Okay, let's get to Howard Kurtz. We got some video clips here, or a video clip, I should say. Howard Kurtz is a guy who was fired from CNN for being repeatedly inaccurate in his show on media accuracy, which is hilarious. And now he has a hot take for us on Anderson Cooper's sexuality.
After the break, we look at Anderson Cooper. Do gay journalists feel a special anguish over the senseless slaughter of 49 mostly gay Americans, and does that affect their coverage? CNN's Anderson Cooper, who publicly came out as gay 4 years ago, choked up as he read the names of the victims in Orlando.
There are more than a list of names. There are people who loved and were loved. There are people with families and friends and dreams.
But Cooper also grilled Florida's Republican Attorney General Pam Bondi for having argued in court against same-sex marriage. The anchor saying he talked to gay people about this.
I talked to a lot of gay and lesbian people here yesterday who are not fans of yours and who said that they thought you were being a hypocrite, that you for years have fought, you've basically gone after gay people, said that in court that gay people, simply by fighting for marriage equality, were trying to do harm to the people of Florida.
I took this up with Guy Benson, political editor of townhall.com and a Fox News contributor.
Guy Benson, welcome.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me back. Look, I respect Anderson Cooper, and I think he's generally fair. But in this interview with Pam Bondi, do you think he was acting as more than just an aggressive journalist?
Yeah, he seemed like an activist, and I share your sentiments and general thoughts on Anderson Cooper. Of course, I only watch Fox all the time, but I've heard he's very good at his job. He's a versatile journalist.
But here?
In this circumstance, I thought the line of questioning for the Attorney General of Florida, under the circumstances and given the context of what had just happened in that state, it was a bizarre non sequitur, and it seemed like he was browbeating her for really unrelated political thought crimes in her past, which did not relate to the task at hand, which is roundly condemning the horrific atrocity that happened.
In other words, even if she had gone to court to argue against same-sex marriage in Florida, what did that have to do? Did that make her a bigot?
No.
Was that the underlying premise of Cooper's questioning?
It was, and I think that this is the only way that this line of questioning makes sense is if your underlying assumption is that any opposition to any form of gay rights legislation is rooted in bigotry or hatred.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, it's amazing to me that we still debate this. Could you imagine if somebody came out today and they said, I'm not a racist, I'm not a bigot or anything, but I think we should ban interracial marriage? What would everybody's response be? It would be unanimous, it would be across the board, everybody all at once would say, no, oh, you are a racist, you are a bigot. You might not realize it, in fact, you don't realize it, but that's almost the definition of bigotry. You don't get to say, hey, you two don't get to marry because I don't like it, because you're different races. Just like you don't get to say, hey, you guys don't get to marry because you're the same gender, and I don't like it. If you say that, yes, you are a bigot. So what these guys are doing is they're taking Anderson Cooper's one superb journalistic moment in recent history, and they're turning it into his worst. And Howard Kurtz does it in the most nefarious way imaginable. He's like, well, you know, Anderson Cooper, he is gay, so is he biased? Is he biased? Excuse you? Is he biased? No, he's pointing out facts about the person he was talking to, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of Florida. So it is true that she's against gay marriage. It is true that so many Republicans across the country are against anti-discrimination protections for the LGBT community. So now when something horrific happens, all of a sudden they pretend like they're the heroes and the saviors and the people who defend the LGBT community all the time. That's not true. So on the spectrum of gay acceptance, on the one radical end, people being in favor of murdering gays for being gay, and on the other end, people in favor of total and utter gay equality, these Republicans and conservatives are somewhere in the middle. They're somewhere in the middle. They don't want to throw people in jail for being gay. They don't want to kill people for being gay. But they don't want to give them full equality. They don't want to give them gay marriage. They don't want to have anti-discrimination protections for them. So what Anderson Cooper was doing was he was fed up, and he's like, now all of a sudden, you know, you're pretending like you're so in favor of the community because something horrible happened. Look, we get it. You're not in favor of them being killed. You're not in favor of locking them up or anything. But you're not fully in favor of equality. So obviously, this is a pertinent, relevant, intelligent line of questioning. And what do? Howard Kurtz, who's the biggest joke on the planet, is begging for false neutrality, so-called journalism. That ain't journalism, because he's the king of it. His entire show on CNN, it's so amazing that people don't realize this drivel that he puts out every week. Everything is, 50-50. We got to give the Democrats 50% credit, got to give the Republicans 50% credit. And if you ever say anything is true or false, and you're right about it, like climate change, for example, one thing true, one thing false. No, that's bad. You got to give 50% credit to both sides, and if not, then you're being a bad journalist. No, Howard, you're being a bad journalist, because not everything in the world is 50-50. We have real answers in many areas. If it's evolution versus creationism, evolution is right. If it's climate change being real versus it being a Chinese hoax, it's real. That's correct. That's right. But what they try to do, muddy the waters. The one time Anderson Cooper really does his job well, because Anderson Cooper oftentimes does the bullshit false neutrality journalism. The one time he does his job well, hey, here's your record on gay rights. It's not that good, so why are you pretending to be in favor of them now? They go, how dare you? How dare you? And by the way, they did another classic Fox trick there. The guy who they brought on who was talking there, and they go on to say this in the rest of the clip. That guy's gay. So they bring on a gay person to bash another gay person. So that Howard Kurtz could say, I didn't argue that specifically. He did. He's gay. He gets a pass. Oh, it's so gross. Now, look, is it true that perhaps he decided to be extra tough because he did feel like he had a personal connection to the victims? Maybe that's true, but I don't care, because it was finally him doing good journalism. So we should acknowledge the good journalism. And he should do shit like this more often and be this aggressive and be this tough and be this accurate and give the facts, because it would be journalistic malpractice to overlook this woman's record as she pretends like she's in favor of gays now. You're not. You're not as much against them as the fucking murderer and terrorist was, but you're not for them. So I'm just sick of the fucking hypocrisy on this. And, they go on to defend her because in their mind, in the Fox News mind, it's very simple. If you're against the murder and the terrorism, then you're a good person. So everything else to them is debatable, right? It's debatable. Hey, should gays have equal rights? Should they be able to marry? Should they have anti-discrimination protections? I don't know. Debatable. But, look at those savages murdering them. No, yeah, that's a savage for sure. That's a terrorist. That's a murderer. That's a horrible person. But again, on the spectrum, you're somewhere in between the people who are right and for full gay equality and the horrific, grotesque, disgusting terrorists. You're in the middle ground. You're in favor of maybe some rights but not others. Now, fuck off. I'm sufficiently in favor of you enough, so now you got to back off. No, we don't. We're going to press everybody, and we should, because that's what real journalism is, and maybe Howard Kurtz should learn something about that, instead of questioning Anderson Cooper's integrity on this issue because he happens to be gay. By that logic, I guess Howard Kurtz can't cover any straight issues anymore because he's straight. You're biased by definition, right? Okay. Representative Mo Brooks is a Republican from Alabama, and he has some thoughts for us here on the American Muslim community that he shared in the wake of the Orlando attack. He said, more and more votes are in the American Muslim community, and the Democrats are in a perplexing position. On the one hand, they're trying to appeal to the gay community, but on the other hand, they're trying to also appeal to the Muslim community, which, if it had its way, would kill every homosexual in the United States of America. Wow. Now, again, let's understand exactly what he's saying here. He's not saying that, hey, the population, a majority of the population, or as he says, all of them in Saudi Arabia would kill gays. He's not saying in Pakistan. He's not saying anywhere overseas. He's not saying the worldwide Muslim community. And by the way, if he were, it would be closer to the truth. Because when you look at the polls worldwide, attitudes in the Muslim community towards gay people are horrendous. It's still a very fundamentalist culture, and they're not in favor of gay rights. They think it's immoral by definition. And honestly, it is worse than the Christian community. So you got to keep it real. The numbers are staggering, and they're sad when you look at the worldwide Muslim community. But again, that's not the claim he made. The claim he made was the American Muslim community would kill all gay people, would kill every homosexual in the United States of America if they had their way. That's what he said. American Muslims. Okay, this is textbook bigotry. Why? It's not true. But he's just like, I don't know, Muslim bad, Muslim kill gays, that's what they want, right? American Muslims, same thing. No. You know those polls that we were just talking about, how worldwide the attitude towards gays is horrendous, and we need to work on that, and we need to fight it, and we need to stand up for liberalism within Islam? Well, here in the United States, you're not giving credit where credit is due, in the sense that they are a much more liberal community than the Muslim community worldwide, and get this, even compared to the Christian community in the United States of America. You don't believe me? Here are the numbers. 45% of U.S. Muslims, quote, accept homosexuality, according to a 2015 Pew poll. Now, let me pause there. That's still way low. That number should be 100%. Everybody should accept homosexuality. In fact, who the fuck cares if you don't accept it? Fuck off. It is what it is. There's nothing immoral about it. So 45% is abysmally low. 36% of Mormons, quote, accept homosexuality. That's less than 45. So Mormons accept homosexuality less in America than Muslims do. And only 36% of evangelical Christians accept homosexuality. Meaning, the Muslim community in the United States is more liberal on the issue of gay rights than American evangelical Christians are. So, what group is Mo Brooks a part of? Oh, that's right! He's an evangelical Christian. So, again, I get so sick of this shit, man. Like, yes, obviously it's true, and we've spoken about it endlessly on this show, that the worldwide stats for the Muslim community on gay rights and in many other areas, it's sad, it's pathetic, and we need to fight to change that. But to say that's the case in the United States is just factually incorrect. And you are generalizing about Muslims, including American Muslims, when you say something as stupid as they would kill every homosexual in the United States of America. I mean, how ridiculous. I'm friends, I know Muslim Americans. In no way, shape, or form does that represent their views. Like I just told you, the evangelical Christian community is more conservative on gay rights than the American Muslim community. For fuck's sake, we covered this story during the election, where there's the largest population of Muslim Americans in the country, in Michigan, in Dearborn, Michigan specifically. They voted, what was it, 70%, 80% for Bernie Sanders? Yeah, I'm sure they want to kill gays. The senator who's been in favor of gay rights for the longest of any senator in United States history. They're like, that guy, he's my guy. Yeah, they sure want to kill them, right? Is that some? Did Bernie say that? Was that on his platform? By the way, kill the gays. All right, more. Support for gay marriage among American Muslims, 42%. Now, again, far too low. And I would argue, yeah, there are many people, it is because of the doctrines and because of the religions and because of their religion that they say, yeah, no, I'm against gay marriage. So it's not a majority, and that's sad. I mean, we should be looking at, although overall it's 58% for the country. So the country's better overall, but not that much. I want that number to be 100% in favor of gay marriage. But 42%, the people who are against it, yeah, it is because of their religion. 42% is bad, but Jehovah's Witnesses are 14%. Way below. Mormons, 26%. Evangelicals, 28% favor gay marriage. Meaning, the American Muslim community fucking nearly doubles the Mormons when it comes to support for gay marriage, is over 10 points ahead of evangelical Christians, and they lap Jehovah's Witnesses when it comes to gay marriage. So again, facts are facts, and we need to bring up all the facts. I'm not denying for a second that there aren't massive issues in the Muslim community when it comes to acceptance of gays around the world. There are 10, countries, I think all of them Muslim, but if not a majority of them Muslim, and they're theocracies where they'll put you to death if you're gay. That's unacceptable, and that is tied to a fundamentalist interpretation of the doctrine. So let's be clear about that. There's so many countries, many of them Muslim, where they'll just lock you up for being gay. So, yeah, there are massive problems with acceptance of gays in that community. But you need to be specific and accurate when you talk about it, and it is just not true that the American Muslim community wants to kill every gay person. That's not anywhere near true. In fact, the American Muslim community is more liberal on gay rights than evangelical Christians in the U.S., a group that Mo Brooks happens to be a part of. So it would actually be more true, though still false, but more true if Mo Brooks said, goddamn evangelical Christians want to kill every homosexual. If American evangelicals want to kill gays. How terrible is that if they had their way? No, if people said that, we'd all be like, that's preposterous. That's preposterous. Sure, they're mostly not in favor of gay marriage. Sure, they really don't accept gays and they think it's immoral, but they don't want to kill them. They don't want to kill them. But he says something that's less true about American Muslims. Very few people are standing up and saying, whoa, man, you're really generalizing about the American Muslim community, and you're making them into something that they're not. And by the way, this does breed more fear and hatred of Muslims, specifically in America. No, look at all the facts, man. Look at all the facts. American Muslims are just as American as you are. Okay. Now, let's go to Saudi Arabia here and bash the living shit out of them. How's that sound? So Congress decided to step up for their buddies in Saudi Arabia. The Intercept reports here, the House on Thursday narrowly defeated a measure that would have banned the transfer of cluster bombs to Saudi Arabia, but the closeness of the vote was an indication of growing congressional opposition to the conduct of the U.S.-backed Saudi-led coalition in Yemen. The vote was mostly along party lines with 200 Republicans and only 16 Democrats, heeding the Obama administration's urging to vote against the measure. The vote was 204 to 216. Okay. You have the Republicans voting in lockstep with Obama here, and only 16 Democrats agreeing with Obama and flipping over and supporting his position. So what does that mean? It means President Obama and the Republicans agree, let's continue to arm the Salafi terrorist state. This is beyond disheartening. The same people who say all the time, we're tough on terror, the Republicans, we're tough on terror, and we don't want no damn terrorist sympathizers around us, goddamn libs. No, that's what you are. You are terrorist sympathizers. Let's get all the facts out here about what Saudi Arabia is doing in Yemen. Cluster bombs are illegal under international law. They're using them. We're selling them to them, by the way. So they're using that, and the civilian death rate is well over 50%. Many, many of them women and children. They're attacking hospitals. They're attacking schools. They've even attacked schools for the blind. They've also banned different forms of aid from getting in there to help them. Saudi Arabia has also decided they're going to arm and equip Al-Qaeda on the ground. You're probably like, whoa, what the fuck? Well, you got to understand, the Shia Houthis took over Yemen. They ousted the Sunni leader. So the Shia Houthis took over. Some argue they're backed by Iran. And Saudi Arabia, this is a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So Saudi Arabia said, all right, we need Sunnis on the ground to fight them. Who's available? Al-Qaeda's like, we're right here, baby. So now Al-Qaeda's getting arms and weapons. By the way, many of those arms are coming from the U.S. They go to Saudi Arabia, and then they go right to Al-Qaeda. So we're in a proxy war where we are de facto on the side of Al-Qaeda. That's fucking lovely. And again, over 50% civilian death rate. This is against international law. And what are we doing? We're continuing to arm them. The Obama administration backs arming them. The Republicans unanimously back continuing to arm Saudi Arabia. Now, why? Is it because, oh, these guys love, Muslim fundamentalists and the Salafi terror state? No. They love the defense industry. So when you take money from the defense contractors, guess what? You're going to do their bidding. And they say, hey, we got to keep making more weapons and making more money and selling this stuff. So you better vote with us. And that means arming people who are ISIS that made it. That's what Saudi Arabia is. Hey, man, they declared all atheists are terrorists, and these are the people we're arming. That's beyond ridiculous. I mean, these are people who export jihad all around the world. These are the people who build the most radical mosques throughout Europe. They said, we're not going to take any Syrian refugees, but they can go to Europe and we'll pay for the mosques where they're going to worship ultra-conservative Islam there. The most literalist, fundamentalist interpretation. Oh, no. No. This is not acceptable. They kill people, they behead people for sorcery and witchcraft. That's beyond absurd. So this is what we're dealing with, and they're one of our top allies. Why? Business. Business as usual. The military-industrial complex, defense contractors have to make money. We need more oil. Keep the status quo going. Even though we're aligned with jihadists, even though, we're aligned with the worst terrorists on the planet, you have the redacted pages from the 9/11 Commission report that showed that Saudi Arabia was heavily involved in 9/11. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to continue to dig our own grave here. Keep digging that grave, baby. Keep digging that grave, because God forbid the defense industry doesn't make a little extra profit. Okay. All right, let's go to this situation in Okinawa, which is really interesting. The International Business Times is reporting on an interesting situation involving U.S. troop presence in Okinawa. They say tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets Sunday to stage a massive demonstration against the presence of U.S. military bases on the Japanese island of Okinawa following the arrest of an American suspected of raping and murdering a local 20-year-old woman. The killing of the woman, who had been missing for several weeks when her body was found last month, sparked a major outrage in Okinawa, where tensions have been running high over crime linked to American troops. The U.S. contractor was arrested on May 19th on suspicion of abandoning the woman's body. He is a former Marine. So I didn't know about this, but this is one of many crimes that the troops committed. So in the 1990s, there was the rape of a 12-year-old girl by 3 soldiers, which is mind-blowing and beyond disturbing. And there's been repeated drunk driving incidents as well that have led to accidents. There was one person who got on the freeway and drove the wrong way, and then people crashed and people died. Now, listen to this fact. This blew my mind. I had no clue about this. Okinawa hosts 50,000 U.S. nationals, including 30,000 military personnel and civilian contractors. And the people are saying, hey, we don't fucking want you here. We want you to go. And every now and then you're committing these really, really grotesque crimes. And this is unnecessary. Get the fuck out. So what's my take on this? Yeah, get the fuck out. I don't get it. I never got it. This idea that the world would crumble instantly if the United States didn't have over 900 military bases. No, you could cut those military bases in half today, and we'd be better off, because I don't think the security situation would devolve, and I also think we'd be able to save money. It's hilarious how politicians always tell us in the U.S., universal health care, we don't have the money for that. Oh, universal college, sorry, we can't be like other modern nations. Do we have endless money for the military? Do we have a bloated military budget? Do we have over 900 military bases? Yes. It's massively unnecessary. Now, the neocons, their fucking heads would explode hearing me talk about this, but it's true. They think that for whatever reason, when the United States gets to run the world and be the sole empire, that we're so much more moral than every other empire. No, human nature is what it is, and we've proven that we're very similar to other empires. Now, obviously, there's outliers that are on the bad end of the spectrum that would have been way worse than us. Obviously, Hitler, you go down the list. But many of the things that we end up doing, we end up acting in our own self-interest. And that we don't care about altruism, we don't care about humanitarianism. If that was the case, we wouldn't be allies with Saudi Arabia, who have been described as ISIS that made it. They have the same ideology as ISIS. We're going to be friends with the people that say all atheists are terrorists and act like we care about human rights. We're going to team up with Malaysia on a trade deal when they, quote, tolerate slavery and pretend like we care about human rights. No, most of it is about power and control and natural resources and business interests and corporate interests. Corporations have bought our government, and in many respects, the military acts as a militant arm of a wing of American corporations. You don't believe me? Go look at American history. Look at what happened when we overthrew the Iranian government in 1953. Why did we do that? Why do we prop up a dictator in Iran? You tell me. It was for the fucking oil. It was so that America and Britain could get that oil and get it for cheap. And if Mohammad Mossadegh stayed in power, he was looking to do good by his people and not Westerners who just came in and jacked their resources. Go look at the history. Go look at the banana wars. Now, obviously, that's old school. That was a clear example. We're just going to go in, topple the government, and jack your bananas. Our banana companies want bananas, so fuck off. I mean, this is the history of it. And now we have instances where we still have bases all over the place. Some bases are fucking gigantic. Now, some admittedly are very small, but there's no argument. There's no argument for this. So we need America and Japan for crickets. I hear dick. I hear nothing. When, by the way, the Japanese government is saying, hey, we'll do our own shit now. We'll do our own shit. We can have a military now, and we're going to move in that direction, and we're going to do our own protection. And why should we be there, number one, on principle? Number two, when there's so many stories like this that come out, and the people just don't fucking want us there. That's not an argument anymore. That's not an excuse anymore. Well, I mean, they want us there, so what are we going to do? We're going to have to say that. No, they're telling you we don't want you there. Over 50,000 fucking people came out. 65,000 people were like, get the fuck out of here. So, yeah, I agree with them. Get the fuck out of here. I don't like breeding hatred of America around the world. I don't. We covered the poll in a recent story. 66,000 people were asked in 65 different nations, what country is the biggest threat to world peace? Number one by a mile, America. You think I like that as an American? I don't fucking like that. I don't like that. Why can't we just use our military for self-defense like normal people? We're going to be all right if we can do that, and we can take those resources that we're wasting on that front and put it towards the people here at home, spend on infrastructure, spend on jobs, spend on health care, spend on education. I know, but I'm the radical one, even though I'm advocating what the overwhelming majority of the American people agree with. Okay. Let me squeeze in one more here. This will be Donald Trump's Christian advisor again. Donald Trump's Christian advisor has some thoughts for us here on trans bathrooms. Let's watch.
What this decree said to our schools was, you will bow down to the fact that we don't care anymore about gender, and if you don't, we're going to take your money from you. It's no different, beloved. It was done with the stroke of a pen. And I want to encourage you and call you to action. I called myself to action. We will not tolerate this. We will not stand for it. You may be persecuted. You may be punished. And some of you who are educators, wherever you are, you may have to pay a price. But what about the price that you're going to pay if you don't stand up to it? And so we need to say no more. We need to be a people of God that's strong. We need the people that have the Daniel spirit inside of us. And we say, we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to stand for it. And we don't care what you wrote. We don't care if you put us in a furnace. We're going in because our God shall take care of us.
We don't care if you put us in a furnace. That's a quote. This guy's talking about trans bathrooms. How the Obama administration said, look, for all the conservative states that are being assholes to trans people, if you don't allow them into the bathrooms of their choice, well, then you get a lot of grant money from us, the federal government. Kiss it goodbye. Oh, you can put us in a furnace before we buckle on that. Really? Really? I never understood the fucking anger over trans bathrooms. I mean, here's the reality. Trans people exist. They exist in nature. So by one definition, they're natural. That some percentage of the population are going to be trans. What does that mean? Well, a trans person is somebody who's biologically male or biologically female, but effectively their brain is the opposite. So since those people exist, well, many of them coincide with that reality, and they might get a sex change or whatever the situation is, however they choose to deal with it. And then they say, okay, look, this is who I am. These are the bathrooms. This is the bathroom I should go into. And then conservatives go, no! Why are you objecting? Is it really that big a deal? And then what argument do they use? They pivot and they say, what about crimes against kids? Okay, but there's no evidence of that, and that hasn't happened. Well, it might happen. but again, it hasn't happened. And by the way, if it did, well, that's still illegal. It's not. They act like when you allow trans bathrooms that all of a sudden we've also legalized harassment and molestation. That hasn't happened. That hasn't fucking happened. So it's just a matter of, hey, let trans people go to the bathroom they want. And then again, they feel like, well, what if somebody pretends to be trans and they go in the bathroom and well, then that fucking is illegal also. What's the problem here? What's the problem? As a general rule, I don't give a shit where you shit. You can quote me on that. I don't care. I don't care. And I think if you do care, you're a little bit ridiculous. But these guys care so much that you heard him say it. He would rather be put in the furnace than give up on this. Great. So you're going to die so people can't shit where they want to shit. What a hero you are. All right, I'm out of time, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Happy to be back. Mwah. Peace.
That isn't just the sound.